Welcome, I'm Bill Anderson and I'm coming live from the sunny coast, the Costa del Sol in the south of Spain. And can I just say welcome to our just under 97,000 listeners that are in at the moment in, as Dave tells me, 78 countries. So wherever you're listening in from, welcome to the Costa del Sol. And I'm so delighted to have my guests on today. Steve and Dawn Desson, welcome guys.
Hi,
Hi,
Bill.
Bill. Hiya.
We've been trying to organise this for a few weeks, but you retired folks have got diaries that are busier than anybody I know.
I think you're right, Bill.
it's yeah, it's like let's get it in. Yeah, let's get it in. And what about this? Oh, well, we're in such and such a place that but it's great that you've got the freedom, guys, just to do things, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think living here in the Costa del Sol has actually kept us a lot busier than it would have done when we were in the UK on a social scale anyway.
Right,
You know, we all
right.
seem to have something to do, somewhere to go. Steve likes to get involved in lots of things. So
Hence today.
Indeed, indeed.
yeah.
And with the cheaper wine, it's everything blurs into one another, really. So it's very difficult to get in our diary.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the cheap wine's a big pool, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
actually just decided to have a little bit of a break. We're just, we felt like we were embalming ourselves, so we thought we better cut down a little bit.
So you're in dry September, are you?
We are, yeah. We started early. Yeah, I think it's October, isn't it? It's supposed to be. So that
Right.
just shows our commitment.
I'm impressed, and can I just assure you guys, I probably drink enough for the both of you, so don't worry about it, okay?
That's quite easy to do here.
Yeah.
That's so easy.
Listen, you are technically retired, and you live in Mijas Pueblo. So we're going to come and talk about that in just a moment. But
Okay.
tell us a little bit about where you come from, what you did before you retired out here to Spain. So Steve, first of all, where are you from originally?
I'm from a place called Erith, or most people call it Erith, but it's Erith, which is near probably Bexley Heath is probably the most known place because it was where Ted Heath, one of our famous politicians or infamous politicians, came
Sure.
from. I came from there. I lived there until I was about 18, and then I joined Ford Motor Company and travelled around their different plants. Moved to Southampton when I was about 27 because
Right.
I like one of the plants is in Southampton, so I moved down to there. Um, Got married, that kind of stuff. Had kids, that kind of stuff, and came back in 2000. And my life up to that point was working in the motor trade. And I decided to do a big break. When I moved to a different industry, it was a global health insurer.
Right.
Became a manager there, managing teams and stuff. And then I became a project manager. And that was all in Tunbridge Wells, which brought me into the universe of Dawn.
Right. Okay. So this is where you come into Steve's life, Dawn. Yeah.
It is, yeah, yeah.
And
Um,
what about your background? Because
um,
I know some things about you because we know each other, and I can see you just now. Where are your roots from, Dawn?
okay, so I was born in London. My parents are West Indian. They come from Jamaica.
Right.
They emigrated to the UK, had all of us kids, brought us up in London.
Right.
I'm one of 12 children.
My goodness.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the fourth youngest.
Right.
So yeah, I was brought up in London, and then in my 30s I moved to Kent.
Right.
I've always worked in insurance mostly,
Right.
and then ended up in Tunbridge Wells.
Okay. So I'm getting a
Um,
connection here. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So we both left where we grew up, both moved to Tunbridge Wells, where we met.
Both working in insurance.
Yeah. Funny enough, we weren't working at the same insurer when we met.
Right.
I was working for the competition. Unfortunately, we were all made redundant, so
right.
had to find a new job, and Steve was very helpful in that, wasn't you? Yeah, so we ended up working at the same company, not together.
Right.
And we got together prior to us working at the same company. We've been together 20 years now, been married for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's gone by so quickly, I have to say.
I know. And you still talk to each other.
We still talk to each other every day.
When I'm allowed.
Yeah, we really talk a lot.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time together.
We do. That was the main thing when we first met. We were supposed to be going out for the evening, and we near enough didn't go out, did we? Because we just kept yapping and yapping.
Yeah.
Our friends were saying, "Come on, we got to go out," and it kind of went on from there, really.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever stopped talking, really.
No. Okay,
Yeah.
Steve, I know some things about you.
Have you been to them?
I just wanted to see if you had a reaction there or not.
Well, yeah. It depends what things you're talking about. Yeah.
Where did your photography come into all of this, Steve? Because you are a very keen photographer, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, I've taken photographs. I've had a decent camera all my life. I put all of the money I ever had when I must have been 15 or 16. I was doing, paper rounds and stuff, and I scrimped and saved and bought a really nice Canon camera. Obviously, that had film in those days.
Yeah.
And I loved it, and I've never ever stopped, and I've just upgraded my camera each stage. And the better equipment you get, the better photos you take. And when I met Dawn, I'd generally been to Spain a lot, but I've been to Greece and stuff like that, but Dawn's been traveling all over the place, and she kind of introduced me to spending all of my money on travel. So we went the combination of, I suppose, years of taking photographs, so you get your technique and your experience, and then having better equipment, and then going to places that lend itself. I've taken photos that I'm so proud of. I really have, and I still do now. It really gives me a buzz, and I don't fiddle with them afterwards. I literally take the camera, take the photo. I hit a button which just says auto, and it just tweaks it to bring the light levels as it was in real life.
Right.
And that's it. I don't manipulate them or anything.
Right. We'll come back to that later, because you had a little surprise. Well, you had two big surprises recently. And one was the fire in the Mijas Hills, which we actually spoke about on this show, because I got word about it just before we were coming on the air. So we're going to talk. That was a big surprise, and then there was something to do with your photos that we'll pick up on later as well. That the photos that you took around there. Okay. So you've done a lot of travelling, Dawn, yeah?
Yeah, I have.
Just for pleasure?
No, yeah, mostly, well, always for pleasure. I don't know how I got the bug, really. I just wanted to experience different countries, their cultures, and things like that. So I remember for my 40th birthday, I was like, I really want to go somewhere, to a different country, to celebrate my birthday.
Right.
Reason being is that for my 18th, 21st and things like that, I don't remember what I was doing on my actual birthday.
Right.
So I wanted something special. So I happened to be reading a newspaper, and there was an article about Argentina. And I went, that's where I'm going.
Really?
Yeah, so I went to Argentina. It was the most amazing holiday. Just saw so much, did so much. Just had a fantastic time there. And I tend to like to go to more unusual places. Places like Peru, the Inca Trail in Peru. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And just things like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, for someone who says, I just want to go somewhere, I mean, I have to say, Argentina wouldn't be the place that would immediately spring to mind, you know?
No, it wouldn't. No, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go. It wasn't something that, as you say, you would normally think of going to.
Sure.
And I would actually recommend it as a country to visit
Really?
for a holiday. It has got so much history, so much culture. You won't be bored.
No.
You know, we just did so much whilst we were there. Had an absolutely fabulous time.
There's not many places she hasn't been, to be honest. I mean, Dawn went, what was it, 18 months you went away for like travelling, backpacking around the world, living in horrendous hotels and
sort of
yeah,
flea-infested rooms in some dark corridor.
Yeah. Did like it was actually 8 months. I went travelling for.
Right.
Family was saying, "Really, Dawn? You're going travelling? You're going to sleep in a tent? You know, in a hostel? Really?" Because some people seem to think that I'm a bit of a princess, so I showed them.
Right.
Yeah, so we went hosteling. Where did we go? We started off in Egypt. We went to Goa. We went to Bombay, as it was called then. New Zealand, Australia, America, Canada.
Wow.
And then ended up in Brussels.
Well, yeah, but I think we all ended up in Brussels at some point, didn't we?
Yeah.
One of the reasons we're here, really.
So, you know, you both obviously worked hard, apart from you sort of dodging around the world from time to time, Dawn. And you said, Steve, that you come sort of back and forward to Spain and Greece and some the Mediterranean, I guess, in general. What was the point at which you decided we're going to move to Spain?
Well, I think I probably decided when I was about 21. I went to Ibiza before all the clubs were there and everything. I went to Ibiza, and it was such a magical place. And I'm sure it still is now, but it was back then. It was pure Spain, you know.
Sure.
And where I live now, Mijas Pueblo, just feels like that. And Dawn and I have been coming to the area of Mijas for about 18 years, on and off, because we used to bring my daughter here.
Right.
Well, she still comes now, but she's obviously grown up now. And we used to come here, and she came out with her new boyfriend, and we stood in Mijas Pueblo Park, the Park of the Wall, Morala Park.
Yeah.
And we watched the sun go down, and it was the first time we'd ever stayed in the Pueblo that long. Most people go home at 5.
Sure.
But we stood there and we watched the sun go down. We didn't say a word, and I think it was that moment that we knew we were going to buy a house, and it would have that particular view.
Right.
And that's what we searched for, and that's what we bought.
Yeah. So we've got people listening in from about 78 countries at the moment. So can you just describe for us Mijas Pueblo? You know, what is it like? I mean, I know what it's like. I've been there I was there this morning, in fact. But just describe for us Mijas Pueblo.
It's peaceful. It's beautiful. It feels like home.
It does. That's the one thing.
Yeah, it feels
that
like
we
home.
always say. To get a bit of a vision for the people who have never been there, it's called a Pueblo Blanco, so it's a white village, a traditional white village of Spain, and it is on the tourist map, very much so. And during the day, it's full up with tourists. Coaches come in, they go around. But as I said just now, 5 o'clock. They all get back on the coaches and they all go home, and it returns to a Spanish village. And you can go up there in the evening, and they'll do traditional flamenco dancing, and it's for the Spanish, the locals. It's not for the tourists.
Yeah.
And we are part of that. And all of the streets are very narrow, as you'd expect, to keep the sun out. And it's masses and masses of culture, because we live in Andalusia, which is literally a jump over the a small bit of the Mediterranean to Morocco, and it was ruled by the Arabs for 700 years. So there's a lot of cultural differences, and it's just a mix of cultures and senses and smells and tastes. It's incredible.
Yeah. And you know, Mijas itself goes way back even before the Moors, because the original name for Mijas was Tamisa. And that was the Roman name for it. So there's been something up there, and is it about 800 meters above sea level?
It's 400 meters, 1,495. I was corrected yesterday. I told somebody it was 1,000 meters above, and they looked a bit surprised and lost all trust in me.
Yeah. So you're 400 meters above sea level. It's built on the side of a mountain.
It is.
And I mean, frankly, the views, it doesn't really matter where you are in Mijas Pueblo, the views of the coast are just fantastic, aren't they?
They are. They really are.
A couple of times a month, I think it's about 4 or 5 times a month, the atmosphere changes, and you can actually, from wherever you are in the village pretty much, look across the Mediterranean, the Alboran Sea that's in front of us.
Yeah.
And you can just see the edge of the Atlas Mountains, and you can see the Straits of Gibraltar, so you can see the Rock of Gibraltar, and you can see Jebel Musa, which is the Moroccan side.
The other side, yeah.
So, and it's just simply stunning, as you know, Bill. It's lovely.
Yeah. Okay, so you decided, you watched this romantic sunset, and then you just decided, right, this is it.
Basically,
it's Dawn's fault. Tell you why we're here, but actually bought the house.
Okay. Well, and, you know, I like to travel. When I met Steve, one of the first things he said to me was that he wanted to retire to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that sounds like a nice plan. And he also wanted to retire by the time he was 50. So I thought, well, that won't be long. But nothing happened. And we happened to go to an exhibition in London for living abroad. And somehow I gave my email address to a program called A Place in the Sun. You may have heard of it.
I may have heard of it, yes.
And so they used to send us emails letting us know what was for sale and where it was for sale. And at the bottom of one of the emails, it said, "Are you thinking of buying a place in the sun?" So I said, I ticked the box that said yes.
Right.
I was at work, by the way.
Yeah, Steve was at work, I was at home, didn't have much to do, so I ticked the yes box, and I had a reply to say, we get lots of responses, you'll hear from us at some point. And then on the following Monday, I heard from them, had a call with them for about an hour, in which they said they were very interested to screen test us. So I had to think on my feet, because Steve didn't want to go on the programme in the first place, but it was the only way we were actually going to get to Spain to actually start the process of looking for somewhere. So when he got home, I asked him whether he had a nice day in the office. He said, not bad. So I said, oh, well, good news. We're going to go to London to screen test for A Place in the Sun. So we did the screen test. That went all well. And then they invited us over. And we came over a couple of months later.
In January, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It took about 7 weeks from start to finish, from literally Dawn clicking the box and us saying, I'll buy that.
So that was it. And you were still talking to each other afterwards, even though she set you up on this one, Steve.
It was a crazy journey, but because I had the background of always wanting to come, do you know what I mean? I always wanted to do it. I do procrastinate. That is me. I would dither and everything. And Dawn isn't. She's gung ho. Let's go and do this. Bugger the circumstances. The fact that we were penniless had no bearing on it whatsoever.
So did you actually come over here with the TV show, the Place in the Sun, and look at the properties and things?
Yeah,
we did.
people can catch up on it on. It's not on YouTube actually, but for people in the UK, it's on Catch Up on Channel 4,
Right.
program 127. And it's for me, it's a video nasty, and every time I watch it, I hate myself even more.
Yeah. And did you look at them various properties, and were they all in Mijas Pueblo, or how did that work?
Well, they show you 5 properties over the course of a week.
Right.
This was the last property they showed us.
Uh-huh.
We fell in love with it immediately. The views are absolutely stunning. We put an offer in immediately, and it was accepted.
Wow.
It was a crazy journey. It really
Yeah.
was. I'm looking at houses, thinking, I'm not buying. I've been like hoodwinked into this. I'm just looking at lovely houses, and then we looked at this house, and I walked outside, and we went, we want to buy that. In all fairness, the plan was more buy it and having a long-term plan to move over in the long term.
Right.
However, with the B word, Brexit, it brought it all forward because we needed to move here before that particular bomb exploded.
Yeah, but because actually, the world of Brits in Spain pre-Brexit was a very different world than the land of Brits in Spain post-Brexit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's hugely different.
Yeah.
Especially things like healthcare. You know, a person who we went to a retirees thing. Not that we were retiring. I was doing a thing there. And this woman said to us, if you are thinking of moving abroad, get somewhere that has the infrastructure for when you're old, because you're going to move out when you're younger, but you're going to be in real trouble if you're in a beautiful village miles from anywhere, but you need to get to hospital. So that did colour our view to where we wanted to live as well.
Yeah, and you know, I was talking to someone recently he actually has a house in Mijas, but down near the coast, and he's still working in the UK, and he said, I'm still thinking about maybe coming over or moving over when I retire, maybe when I'm about 70. But my wife was sitting chatting to him, and she said, well, listen, you know, if you're thinking of coming over at 70, he's on his own. You need to consider what happens in 10 years or 15 years if you're going to sort of sell everything you've got in the UK and move everything lock, stock and barrel over here. You know, the thing is, like, social services in Spain are not what we were used to in the UK, for example.
No.
And it is something that people need to think about, you know, because if this is going to be your home, you want to grow old here, and when you grow old, unfortunately, things start breaking. You know, things stop working.
They already have. That's why we drink.
It just seemed sensible to come here. I mean, obviously Brexit brought our decision forward for us, but in general, it does seem sensible that if you are going to retire to another country, to try to do it sooner if you can rather than later, because you do want to enjoy your new lifestyle, you know, and the older you get, unfortunately, the harder it is, you know. Yeah. So I'm glad we came out when we did, you know, because we retired early.
Yes.
So neither of us are working. We are able, therefore, to do what we want, when we want, how we want,
absolutely.
You know, and it does make a big difference. So if you can afford not to work, don't.
Listen, I wish you'd given me that advice a few years back, you know.
You know, that was the next thing I was going to say. Make sure that you do get financial advice before you do it.
Yeah.
You know, everyone says that Spain is cheaper, which to some degree it is, you know, but you still have to consider things like healthcare, which can be very expensive.
Yes.
You know? So
Yeah,
just
and
make
it
sure
also
you-
depends which part of Spain you go to. You know,
Yeah.
I spent 6 months working inland in Spain near Cordoba, and it was incredible because I was sharing a flat with my daughter and her friend, and we had this 3-bedroomed apartment right in the centre of the small town of Baena, which cost us between us €270 a month, right?
Yeah.
And that's only moving 2 hours inland. And, you know, for the same thing, even then, it's a few years back now, but even then, down on the coast, you couldn't have got a 1-bedroom apartment for 600 or 700, you know? So it also depends, you know, what kind of lifestyle people want and where they want to be. And that affects, I think, quite extensively the cost of living.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, we have seen prices peak and trough even while we've been here. We've been here 4 years, but we've
Right.
seen them go up, go down. And of course, the exchange rate does have an effect, you know, if you're having to bring money from the UK or
Of
whatever.
course, yeah.
You know, there's a huge effect, you know. So we have to keep a check on the healthcare, because we're not eligible for Spanish health, you know, free healthcare like you
Right.
are in the UK, which surprises a lot of people that
Yeah.
how much healthcare costs. There's a thing called Convenio, which you can get, Convenio Especial, which is €65 a month, but it won't pay for prescriptions or prosthetics and that kind
Right,
of stuff. So
yeah.
there's a lot to learn. I mean, the research that you need to do before you come out, even without thinking about the things like language and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It should be huge. Not everybody does it. Some people just go and wing it. And we talk to people that have done it and lived successfully for 20 years. But
Yeah.
we're just not like that.
I think it's best to do your research before you go anywhere, to tell the truth.
Sure.
I mean,
Holiday.
even holidays, yeah. I always research everything before.
And even when you've done your research, you still get surprises, don't you?
Yeah.
That's what
yeah.
makes it fun, though, right?
Yeah.
Listen, guys, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back. And then you said you were going to talk about, well, we're going to talk about this, the good, the bad, and the ugly of living in Spain. And, you know, so we're going to try to give people, I think, a realistic picture of living here, not just visiting, but of living here. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Good afternoon from EXPAT Radio.
Hi, I'm Robert Powell, and you're listening to EXPAT Radio.
Welcome back. I'm Bill Anderson. I'm coming live from the Costa del Sol with my guest today, Steve and Dawn Desson, who live in the beautiful little white village of Mijas Pueblo. Welcome back, guys.
Hi, Bill. Hi, everyone.
I've just heard that we've got a lot of listeners in Russia at the moment. So I thought I should just say Dobry dien и здравствуйте. I'm just showing off.
Very, very impressive.
Steve and Dawn, you're talking to us earlier about your move over to, well, not just to Spain, but to Mijas Pueblo. It's a traditional white village up in the mountains just above the Costa del Sol. Has it all been plain sailing, you know, since you moved here?
No.
No?
Simple answer. No, it hasn't.
Yeah, because I think it's good to sort of paint a realistic picture. You know, it's all very romantic, isn't it? Watching your sunsets and everything, and you know, it's all very romantic. But the reality is, it's still life, isn't it? And and you know, what have been the harder bits for you guys moving over here?
Well, first year, I mean, when we came to buy the house, the guy who was the agent that we bought it through in the end, he said, all I'll say to you is give it 2 years. He said, because you will feel like going back. And we thought, really? Anyway, we kind of took that on. And the first year mentally was hell.
Horrendous.
It was. I mean, bureaucracy in Spain is quite high. Just about everything is changing, but most things are done on paper. If you go to the doctor, you go with a big wad of paper that's got all of your information in it, and they print it out when you've had your consultation. You take it home, and if you don't take it back, the next doctor won't have a clue. So
Right.
and even getting residency, because we had to get residency, which means because of Brexit, most people can only stay 90 days in every 180, whereas we can live here all the time. So it was essential we got that. That took time. Changing our driving licenses took time. Just about everything took time. And, even banking, if you go to the bank, you have to put a half a day aside. Whereas back in the UK, we were used to going, we're out shopping. I go, I'm just popping in the bank. I'll see you in a minute. And that will be it. It'll be like 5 minutes tops. So and that's a change in mindset, because you don't want to come here and be annoyed.
Yeah, it's not a simple process, and you do have to appreciate that you are in another country.
Yeah.
And they may do things differently to what you're used to at home.
Sure.
So I don't think it's right for us to come here and complain, because it was our choice to come here. So you have to accept that, things may be different. And we do accept that things are different, but we also try to be aware that we're in their country, so we have to do and live by their rules, which we have chosen to do. But it is very difficult, as Steve says, going to the bank. Trying to deposit money into a bank is interesting, because you can only do that at 2:30 apparently on a Tuesday.
but there are other strange rules with banks, that if you have kind of bills that you need to pay, and it might be an official bill from the council or whatever, you've got to be at the cash desk before 10:30.
That's right.
Otherwise, if it's 1 minute past 10:30, they just say no, you can't pay it. You need to come back tomorrow. It's like,
it is very interesting and frustrating, but interesting.
And it's not a criticism. I mean, we moved here, and I'm sure most people do, because of the sun and the lifestyle, but also because it's the mañana, the tomorrow mentality, and that's why we moved here, because it's relaxing. So it's really good to do that. So it's really good. I mean, as people say, nobody asked us to come ashore.
But you know what, guys? A lot of the things, getting your residency and things like that is specifically for people that immigrate to Spain. But a lot of the other paperwork is no easier for Spaniards. The banking is just as hard going for them, and they're nipping out in their morning break trying to do that. And I know when Vicky came from Australia, she was lacking up-to-date documents, and she said it was a nightmare because she was born in Madrid. When she was about 8, they moved to Australia, came back just short of 18, and she had to start with all the paperwork, So it's actually not just because we're foreigners in this country that it's difficult. It's difficult for Spaniards in certain circumstances as well.
And as you say, the only difference is that we were talking about this yesterday. The Spaniards are used to it because that's what they're brought up with. We're not used to it, So we're used to it now, but I suppose we don't have to involve ourselves with bureaucracy as much now. Now that we have our residency, now that we have our TIE, now that we have this and that and the other. So it's okay. But if you do have to go to the bank, for example, that can be hard. I mean, we have the language barrier because we haven't perfected our Spanish yet.
You're working on it.
We're working on it.
Our brains just won't cope. By the time we've worked out what we need to say, they're talking to us in English.
And that's a good and bad bit, isn't it? It's great that so many people around, because a lot of people work in the hotel and restaurant business, and you know, most of them have at least a basic level of English, and some have a very good level of English. That's the good bit. The bad bit is when you want to practice your Spanish and they want to practice their English, you just don't get the chance.
No.
I was sat in a cafe a couple of weeks ago, Bill, and there was a guy there who was with his wife. His wife was from Andalusia, where we live, and her husband was from Madrid, and he didn't understand half of what she said because the language is so different, you know. And then the further north you go, and then you go to the Basque country, there is so many. I mean, it's more like Spain is a country, but it's also more like the United States. It's lots of little languages, not just dialects, but languages.
But you know, the United Kingdom is not vastly different from that.
No.
You know, if you look at the I don't know, the language in the south of England, or going from Somerset to Liverpool to Geordieland over Newcastle or to Glasgow, you know, and then you add in the Welsh and the Cornish and the Gaelic when you move up to parts of Scotland, and the Doric in Aberdeen. When you think about it,
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
I have a friend, Brenda, in Scotland, and when I visit her and we go to see her parents, her dad is obviously talking. He may be talking directly to me, and I'm like nodding.
you don't know what he's saying.
Brenda saying, you don't understand a word he's saying, do you? I'm like, no, not really, no.
We've currently
And
got
that's Glaswegian.
subtitles for you, Bill.
What's that? Yes.
We've got subtitles for you.
Don't talk about subtitles. I'm in the council meeting this morning, and there's one particular person that I'm not going to say who he or she is, but when they speak, although my Spanish is pretty good, it sounds like they're speaking either Elvish or Klingon or something, because it's like I sit and listen and nothing goes in, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. You really have to focus and concentrate. Yeah.
Okay, listen, you know, before time runs away with us, I want you to pick up on something that you wouldn't necessarily have experienced in the UK, although they have in some areas this summer. Something happened just a couple of months back, and it wasn't very far away from you, was it? Up in the mountains of Mikas. Can you tell us about what that was like?
You mean the fire?
The fire, yeah, the wildfire.
Yeah, that
Frightening.
was bad.
Frightening, absolutely frightening.
Yeah.
It came very, very close to where we live, on an urbanisation, the village, if you like, where we live, just outside Mias Pueblo. And by the grace of God, literally the wind blew it the other side of the mountain that sits behind us.
Yeah.
And it could have blown this way, and it was literally, you know, the firefighters, the amazing firefighters in their helicopters, they've got it well versed here. You know, it's quite amazing. But it was very scary.
Steve managed to get some amazing photos of it, which he posted to Facebook. I think you may have seen them.
I did see them, yes.
And they got a lot of traction. They were shared everywhere to the point that an agent called him. Who was it who called you?
He's ex-paparazzi, actually.
Yeah,
he lives down in Marbella, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
ex-paparazzi called him to use his photos. And then, who was it, ITV?
Yeah, ITV, the UK news channel, Good Morning Britain. So he was on Breakfast TV.
Right.
Yeah.
Craziness. Crazy Sunday.
So did selling those photos sort of put you into your final retirement mode then, you know? The bank balance bursting and...
It was quite funny though, because the guy rang and said, "Can I be your agent?" And I went, "Knock yourself out, why not?" And then ITV called literally 15 minutes later and said, "Will you be on the TV?" And I said, "Yeah, as long as you speak to my agent."
Yeah, but I think for people who've never experienced wildfire, it's difficult to imagine just how scary it is. When I've been here 20 years, I've been evacuated 3 times from my house because we live countryside. We had 2 fires here that were no more than about 150 metres from where we live. And as you said, and it sounds terrible, thank goodness the wind took it off in a different direction. And that's great for me. And then I think that's a horrible thing to say because it's taken towards someone else. And it is it's the most unpredictable thing that I think you can ever imagine. And also when you've had literally, even by June, July, we've had months of no rain.
That is the one thing that's big difference here, isn't it? It's to say goodbye to rain in like May, and then you don't get it back until September.
If you're lucky.
Quite a feat. It is quite a feat. I mean, living here is amazing. It's all a plus.
Yeah.
Overall, it's literally amazing. We wouldn't change it for the world. July and August, I mean, that's when the wildfires are biggest, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it is a worry. We sit on our terrace and we watch them maybe 5 miles away.
Yeah.
A mountainside will go up and then we see all the helicopters. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is something. I don't think I could say we get used to it, but it is a feature of the landscape, isn't it? In this part of the world, especially when in July, August, we also sometimes get these winds that are called teral, and the teral winds are hot. Yeah. They're blowing hot air from, I guess, Africa, and they are like standing outside with a hairdryer on. And if a fire starts when the teral winds are up, whoa, it's really scary.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just on a quick side note about the photos and the wildfires, I'm working with a couple of people in the local area, and we're putting together a calendar using my photos to raise money for the bomberos, the firefighters, in general, not just the ones in Mijas, but in general. So we're going to be selling those and giving away to raise awareness of fires and what not to do, and to raise a bit of cash too.
Yeah, not for you. For them.
No. Although we do need it.
Any donation is gratefully received.
So, shall we just, if you want to give me your account number, I'll just read it out over the air, okay? So, listen, we've got a few minutes left. Are there any other things that you would like to kind of highlight, either as the highs or the lows in terms of living here in this part of Spain?
What do you think for you? For me, a really simple one is the driving. Getting used to the driving. They do drive. You can have almost a head-on crash because we live in the mountains. Everybody tends to drive in the middle of the road. You can have a head-on crash, and I look like I'm just going to explode, and they have absolutely not a flicker of expression.
It's interesting.
It's really quite. It's funny to look at. Yeah.
I do actually, to tell the truth, I don't drive much here, but I do actually like driving here. For me, it seems that I am driving on the right side of the road, literally.
Right. So it feels right. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. And going around roundabouts, especially.
Oh, but I mean, let's be honest. Going round a roundabout down here is you just close your eyes and press the pedal, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's excitement.
They all go around. I think they all think they're on a motorbike. Because they all go around the outside, and you're taught to do that when you learn to ride a motorbike. So I don't know. Maybe that just comes back. But I believe it's taught in the driving test to drive around the outside, even if you're going all the way round, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. And I know there are rules for going round roundabouts, but I don't think anybody follows them. I think they just go, just nip over here, or just nip back there.
Yeah, but we love it here.
Yeah.
It is so much more relaxing. I would say though, but that people say, "Oh, I have a friend Dawn. She lives in Spain," and people think, "Oh, wow,"
Yeah.
But you know what? You're at home. Everyone's at home, and we basically do things here that we would do at home.
Right.
So it's not Yeah, it's not
UK,
that different, really. We're just in
Yeah.
a different place.
We just had the doors open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I think when you do move to another country, that especially when it's a very touristy area, you do come to the point where you say we need to stop living like tourists.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah, you
yeah,
do. Yeah.
yeah.
You know, everyone thinks you're touristing
Yeah,
all the time, you know, but you're not. You're just living your life. You know, you get up, you clean your house, you cook dinner. Well, Steve cooks dinner, and yeah, you just do as you do. Yeah.
It's adapting, isn't
Yeah.
it? I think
Yeah.
it's adapting. You know, you blend the things that you liked in the UK or your old country with things that you like in the new country.
Yeah.
You know, you just have, I think you just have more options here, because if you plan a barbecue, you have a barbecue. Whereas in the UK, you plan a barbecue and you cancel it. That's not the fault of UK. That's just the reality of weather. Yeah.
yeah. Listen, we're coming towards the end of the show. We're having a music going out in just a moment. Can I just say it's been absolutely delightful having time to sit down and chat to you guys. We do meet from time to time at different things, but it's been really lovely and great that you've shared your story with us. I don't think you've put anybody off, but hopefully you've maybe made some people think.
Well,
Let's hope so.
I hope
Yeah.
people have enjoyed our story.
Yeah.
It's great being on, Bill. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting us on, Bill. It's been really good.
It's our pleasure. Thank you, Dave, for producing the show today. Can I wish everyone a very good weekend, and we'll be back next week. You take care, everyone.
Now it's